Hi everyone, my name's Heather Rose. Today I'm going to be talking about two short poems that I read and two short stories. For the two short poems, I'm going to be discussing the imagery and the theme. And for the two short stories, I'm going to be discussing the conflict and how it relates to the theme. So starting with the first poem I read, is called The Ruined Maid, and this was about, in my interpretation, it seems like it was talking about how sometimes evil things can lead to wealth. And it doesn't really say what exactly the ruined maid did to achieve her wealth, but she's talking to a poor country woman. And, you know, I think the imagery here is really described in how Thomas Hardy talks about their clothing. You know, how the ruined maid is, described as, wearing lots of feathers and, a sweeping gown, has a delicate face. And you can see that in the quote, "I wish I had feathers, a fine sweeping gown, and a delicate face, and can strut about town. My dear, a raw country girl such as you cannot quite expect that. You ain't ruined," said she. So this is kind of like the ruined maid saying, like, you can't have what I have because you haven't done the things that I've done to achieve it. And I think she's saying that in reference to the farm girl's innocence. The second poem that I read was called The Vacuum, written by Howard Nemerov. And I think the theme here is grief and, how it really, losing somebody and how it kind of affects how you view things in your day-to-day. And I think the imagery here used is the vacuum. Ironically, I think it's used to represent how something that was a part of this woman's daily routine kind of shows like the life that was brought into it. Like, a vacuum itself doesn't have any life attached to it, but the person who's using it kind of gives life to it in a sense. And so now that she's deceased, the author, or the narrator in the poem is talking about, how it no longer acts in the way that it used to. And you can see that when he says, "I've lived this way long enough, but when my old woman died, her soul went into that vacuum cleaner, and I can't bear to see the bag swell like a belly, eating the dust and the woolen mice, and begin to howl." So you kind of see that he's saying that the vacuum cleaner is not what it used to be. He can't bear to see the bag swell because it reminds him so much of his deceased woman. So the first short story that I read was Bad Burning by William Faulkner, and this kind of talks about the conflict here, I think, is between choosing the truth versus the loyalty of your family. So it's the son here is trying to choose between the truth and his father, who is lying. And the quote here that I chose was, "His father struck him with the flat of his hand on the side of the head, hard but without heat, exactly as he had struck the two mules at the store, exactly as he would strike either of them with any stick in order to kill a horsefly, his voice still without heat or anger. You're getting to be a man. You got to learn. You got to learn to stick to your own blood, or you ain't gonna have any blood stick to you." And he says that after the fact that the son chose to reveal the truth in court, against what his father was instructing him to do. The last short story that I read was Araby by James Joyce. And I think the theme here is learning how to face reality, or like the harshness of reality, because the main character, he goes to this bazaar and he is trying to impress this girl, but he doesn't really have the funds to do so. And so he kind of like gets angry with himself because he can't do the things that he wants to, just because of his current financial situation. So that's the conflict. And the quote here is, "I lingered before her stall, though I knew my stay was useless, to make my interest in her wares seem the more real. Then I turned away slowly and walked down the middle of the bazaar. I allowed the 2 pennies to fall against the 6 pence in my pocket. I heard a voice call from one end of the gallery that the light was out. The upper part of the hall was now completely dark. Gazing up into the darkness, I saw myself as a creature driven and derided by vanity, and my eyes burned with anguish and anger." So I think this kind of like describes like how he feels about himself in his current situation and how he can't impress the girl that he really wants to. So yeah, that's my analysis of these 2 short poems and 2 short stories. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks so much.